You are watching The New American Media.
Follow thenewamericanmedia.com on Twitter at American_media_.
We're back on the Unhappy Hour. This is your host, Brian Engelman. Thanks for joining us today. If you're watching on YouTube, please click subscribe. We greatly appreciate that. Want to thank our sponsor, 3 Black Cats, tribal belly dance accessories, and homemade herbal products. Go to 3blackcats.storenvy.com. That's the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. If you want to help the New American Media, go buy stuff from our sponsors, 3blackcats.storenvy.com. We are still joined with Zak Barris, NBA scout and lifelong Cleveland sports fan. Zach, I kind of want to just dissect the details in the timeline, just give a recap of what happened with Jeremy Lin, because we can't really just talk about the offseason. We got to go back to when he played for the Houston Rockets, then he went to the Knicks, and then he went back to the Rockets, then he almost went to the Knicks, then he stayed with the Rockets. So can we just kind of tell the Jeremy Lin story for anyone who only heard part of it so far?
Yeah, well, Jeremy Lin, everybody thought he was going to stay with the Knicks. There's no way they'd let him go. And then the Rockets signed into a poison pill offer sheet, essentially guaranteeing him a backloaded contract that James Dolan in New York didn't want to pay. So, we're now witnessing Jeremy Lin as a Houston Rocket, which he's already been a Houston Rocket before. But, it's just kind of surprising the Knicks didn't match up. But granted, I don't think Jeremy Lin is a superstar point guard by any means. I think he has high potential, not in Kevin McHale's offense in Houston. I think he's a much better fit in New York. But, it'll be interesting to see him.
Well, there's a rumor out there.
It'll definitely be interesting to see him in New York.
Well, there's a rumor out there.
Houston.
Yeah, there's a rumor out there now that Carmelo Anthony didn't want him back on the team. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but you have a situation where, I don't know, there's a bit of a cloud following Carmelo Anthony, whether it's true or perceived. Like you said, not getting the starting nod in Team USA, that, when all of the superstars signed their 3-term extension, he signed something different out in Denver, and it's almost seemed like he's been the superstar on the outside looking in for a while, and if he's actually lobbying his own team not to bring back the fan favorite, I don't know. Do you think there may be any truth to that coming from Carmelo?
And there could be. He had more. Jeremy Lin was more popular than Carmelo Anthony was for a while. So, Carmelo wasn't the talk of the town. He wasn't the Big Apple anymore. Jeremy Lin was for a while. And the superstars don't like having their glory taken away from them, obviously. But like I said, is Raymond Felton? Like I said, I have no clue. But Raymond Felton was an excellent fit with the Knicks 2 years ago. He played in an all-star level with the Knicks 2 years ago before they traded him to Denver. So I think getting him back was a big deal. And I also think signing Jason Kidd as a backup, I think, is another thing. And there just wasn't room for Jeremy Lin at the end after those trades were made. After those the Jason Kidd sign and trade and basically the Raymond Felton sign and trade. So there was no room, for Lin to come back. It would have been Felton was too good to be a backup. So I think the Knicks made a tough decision. I don't know if it's the right one. We'll find out soon. But, they made it, and, sometimes you have to live with your decisions, whether you're right or wrong.
Now, say you ran a team, and one of these days you just might do that, Zach, but let's say you go out and get a 39-year-old point guard, and then as soon as you bring him in, he gets arrested for DUI. How concerned would that change your perception of, we're doing the right thing, we'll get Felton, we'll get Jason Kidd, we'll make this work? It's about, does that instantly end up like egg on the face of the decision makers, or how much blame can really fall on them?
Jason Kidd, basically, as far as I know, has had a pretty clean record his entire career up until the arrest. So like I said, I don't know. I really honestly I can't tell you. I don't know what the Knicks front office is thinking. But like I said, it's not gonna make them regret signing Jason Kidd right away. And it's not like Jason Kidd's had multiple runs with the law, and in the recent future where it was a need for concern. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Is he hasn't had any major run-ins with the law. So it's kind of hard to say. I think it could be an isolated issue, but Jason Kidd needs to have better judgment on his own. Someone who's been in that position for years, who has plenty of money, should not be making decisions like going out and, partying like that. You can't do that. And even if you do, You go and you get a cab driver. You can afford, or a car service. You can afford $100 limo. You know, a $100 limo ride. You don't need to be paying. You know, you don't need to be, driving your own car.
Yeah,
it's
you
not
don't.
worth the risk.
No, you don't need to be rolling the dice on your own personal safety and other people's safety. Just innocent bystanders, other drivers or pedestrians. But no, I mean I know Jason Kidd. He had a whole domestic abuse thing going on in '07. Something with
Yeah, I know about that. But like I said, for the most part though, he stayed relatively clean over the past, and I just can't justify his behavior this time. I really can't. I don't ever justify anyone's DUIs. I think DUIs are absolutely, it's one of the stupidest crimes a person can commit.
Well, I've been a bartender for a while, so I've seen it, I've heard it. It is unfortunate, and it's. I mean, you look at Kenny Britt getting arrested today, in the NFL again. I think he's been arrested 8 times, and it's just like, when you got millions, why are you rolling the dice? You don't need to be rolling the dice on stuff. No
reason. People. It's like Adam Jones couldn't stay out of trouble either.
Yep.
It's you wonder why these guys have this problem to begin with. You don't even understand why these guys have these problems. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
it makes no sense to me why some of these guys even have these problems. It should be a non-issue.
Yeah, and when you get a guy that's a character problem, it really affects everybody in the locker room. It affects the perception of the team throughout the nation. You become a laughing stock. You become a place of ridicule. I mean, for as disliked as LeBron has been and probably will continue to be in the greater Cleveland area, he wasn't doing illegal stuff. It was just, he promised you a title, he failed,
he
was never arrested.
He was never exactly. He was never in trouble with the law. That's what people have to understand here. Is as bad of a thing as what he did to Cleveland. It's there are people that have done way, way worse. I'm not saying to a city, but it's not like he went and killed a guy. He didn't do any of that sort. And, he did what he did is, almost unforgivable what he did to the city of Cleveland. But at the same time, though, you have to look at other things. And, it's not like he beat up his wife. He hasn't done anything like that.
Yeah, and you look, he's not out there getting arrested. He's not doing those sorts of things. But, I don't know. It's just you're right. It's always struck me as odd when celebrities, when professional athletes who have infinite resources make such poor decisions. It doesn't speak well. I don't know. It just stuns me because if I had infinite resources, I would like to think that I would be a lot smarter than that. But, I mean, regarding infinite resources, we're kind of wrapping up this whole free agent process. Obviously, Dwight Howard, we're waiting for this saga to draw to a conclusion. Mercifully, at some point, we'll see how it plays out. But how would you kind of rate the process? Who do you think came out and did the best job in free agency, all things considered, out of all the NBA teams this year?
I think I have to go with 3 teams specifically, and I think that's the LA Lakers by bringing in Steve Nash. I would say the Boston Celtics, they brought in Jason Terry, Courtney Lee, Jeff Green, Jared Solinger, Fab Melo. I mean, they've completely rebuilt their bench, and I think Boston becomes a serious contender again this year. And I think even Miami bringing Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis is back. I don't know what Rashard Lewis can contribute, but like I said, I think that they've had a really interesting offseason in the Heat because their perimeter shooting just got a lot better than it has been.
Yeah,
which you saw how good it was in the playoffs, and it's scary to think. If people are going to go and they're going to double team LeBron or Wade, and they can kick it out onto the edge to Battier, to Ray Allen or to Rashard Lewis, those guys are taking open shots. They're bound to hit them. It happens.
Now, Mike Miller, who kind of came out of nowhere, he's been hurt. He's been back and forth, and they were talking about maybe retirement. I saw that he came out and said that he's not going to retire. Does that affect the team and their finances in any way, or how does that change things?
No, I don't think at all. Mickey Harrison already said that he doesn't care. He doesn't care about what about what guys are making. He already said he's committed to winning. And it doesn't matter at all what people are costing him. He said he's already said that. He's already said, I don't care. He goes basketball. He goes, I'm not in this for the business. He goes, I'm in this to win, and that's what he's here to do. There are some owners that are in it to make money. There are some owners that are in the business to win, and he's in the business to win. He'll spend the money to win games, and that's what he cares about. I think Mike Miller was planning on retiring had he gotten the amnesty clause, but it's hard for a player to turn down $5 million a year, to play 4 minutes a game next year.
Yeah, it would be. I'll take that. Unless he's getting heat and ridicule from the team, even then, I mean, fine, call me a pariah. I'll put up with you for a year to bank at $5 million. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that would necessarily be a problem for me if it meant $5,000 in my pocket or $5 million in my pocket. But who would you say came out on the other side instead of $5 million in your pocket, $5,000 in the pocket? Who probably did the worst in free agency this year? If you had to give out grades as far as how things played out, who lost?
I think if Houston doesn't wind up with Dwight Howard, I think they're the big losers.
Because?
I mean, because that would mean they would have amnestied Scola for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
That's number one. You would have amnestied Scola for absolutely no reason whatsoever. You would have traded Kyle Lowry away in order to try to get Dwight Howard. I mean, everything they've done this offseason is based on, trying to get Dwight.
It just strikes me as weird though, because they didn't. It's not like they had a contract with Dwight. And this was everything they're trying to do is to roll the dice on a guy who you might rent for a year, like, bring in Sabathia for a year on the Milwaukee Brewers or something. Yeah, for like a pennant run or something. You rent a player for a bit and then they're gone.
Baseball is much more common for a small market team to rent a superstar than it is in basketball.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the Houston Rockets gameplay. I guess if they don't get Dwight,
I could not tell you. I cannot tell you what Morey's doing over in Houston. I don't know what his game plan is, and it's not even worth guessing because everybody's been wrong so far.
Okay, that may be true. So if they don't get Dwight, it's been a bust of a season for them. Is there anyone else who stands out as that just didn't that swung and missed in their free agency that made their team worse instead of better?
I think Portland has to go and take a look at what they did. I mean, re-signing Batum was a good move, but they missed out on Roy Hibbert big time.
They tried though.
They tried. Missed out on him. But they missed out though. That's the thing.
Right.
I don't know what Neil Olsh is trying to do. Apparently, one of the rumors was that Minnesota had offered 3 first-round picks and Derek Williams for Nicholas Batum. I would do that in a heartbeat. Batum's a 15-5 guy. It's not like he's a star. I don't even know if he's an all. I don't even know if he'll ever be an all-star. He's a decent player, and that's about it.
And that was a rumor, or that was confirmed that
was the rumor that he turned down 3 first-rounders in Derek Williams for Batum.
Now, a Timberwolves first-round pick is a good pick as well.
Well, I don't know about this year, especially if they have Batum playing alongside Kevin Love. And if Brandon Roy is anywhere decent, I think that would be a pretty low pick.
If correct. So maybe Portland didn't do so well, Houston didn't do so well, and any third team that sitting on the outside, not getting asked to the dance.
It's Orlando.
Oh yeah.
They've had a miserable offseason. And then I think the Nets have had a productive offseason too, but they did not land Dwight Howard, who was their number 1 target, and they're going into next season with, Joe Johnson is their number 2, which I don't know how great that is.
Well, they went out and they pulled the trigger, though. They went out and they made a move, and they said, well, this is the most likely thing that's going to improve our team for next year. Whatever the case, let's roll with it. And, whether it turns out to be a superstar move, a bad contract, whatever the case, I don't know. But at least they did something. I mean, yeah, Orlando and Dwight Howard. It's just, I want them to divorce her.
I completely forgot to mention that the New Orleans Hornets may have had one of the best off seasons I've ever seen. Just in the fact that they drafted Anthony Davis, they drafted Austin Rivers. You got Eric Gordon back now, and you got Ryan Anderson for essentially nothing.
Okay.
I completely forgot about the New Orleans Hornets. I think they're going to be exciting to watch. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but they're going to be exciting.
Okay, well, let's sum up those 4 players then. You got Anthony Davis, who you think will be an all-star in the league, correct?
Yeah, not this year, but future, yes.
Okay, and then Austin Rivers, where do you see him panning out?
I really don't know. He's one of those players that's very, very unpredictable. I don't know what he can do. I know he has strong abilities, and I trust, but I think he's going to have a big learning curve his rookie year in the league because he likes to shoot and he's not a heavy passer. So I think you're going to see, a pretty large learning curve from him. Like I said, with Eric Gordon, if he's healthy, and that's a big if, he's going to give you 22 points a game, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. You know what you're getting out of him. And Ryan Anderson, you're getting a guy who's just a solid all-around player who can play the 3 and the 4. So I really like that move on their part because, like I said, they didn't give up much. And they're a team now surrounded with a fair amount of talent. It's not an untalented team in New Orleans, I will tell you that. They're definitely a lot better than they were a year ago.
Well, it's always easy to improve when you're the worst. It's always easy to get a little better, but yeah, with four solid moves,
they are much better than they were a year ago. I will say that over and over again. They are in a different league of where they were a year ago. That team is a lot better.
Well, they've had a bit of a nightmare themselves, going through the ownership and trading their, getting rid of their number one star player.
But now they have an owner that's committed. Tom Benson was once the most hated man in New Orleans. He was the Art Modell of New Orleans. Look at him now. He's a god.
Wow.
He saved the Hornets. He essentially saved the Hornets franchise. He saved the Saints, after they'd been dismal for years. He didn't wind up moving them. So you got to give Benson credit for what he's done down there in the limited time he's had. They're going out there, they're spending money this offseason. And like I said, I doubt Chris Paul returns, but you always have to leave the possibility open for it because it is a much more talented roster than when he left. And they have an owner now, and it's a completely different situation than it was a year ago.
Well, Zach, we're just about out of time for today, and good luck with your move. How long do you think your move process is going to take? Is this too shall pass, or is this going to drag out for a while?
Well, I am actually all moved into the new place, other than I have to go and I have my issue with DirecTV right now because they couldn't reach a signal this afternoon. So I have to go through a third party to do it now, like I did last year, which is fine, and to install it. But everything, all my pictures are hung up, the couch, everything, the recliner, everything, my room's all set up, everything's good to go. Yeah,
see, we had the it's Dish that has the NFL Network, right? Or is that
it's DirecTV.
DirecTV. DirecTV knocked
Dish Network. I can't say anything nice about Dish Network.
Wait, you can't say anything nice?
I cannot say nice. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all about Dish Network. So I'm not going to say it.
Well, AT&T's been all right with their U-verse, but yeah, they knocked yesterday and just checked in. Hey, I can get you a deal. I'm like, look, I'm not into signing long-term contracts for stuff. AT&T's always like, we have the NFL season pass. I'm like,
Wait, actually, they have the internet thing, but they don't have Sunday ticket. They'll give you. They'll tell you to have the Sunday. They'll tell you to have the NFL package, which gives you NFL Network. There's a lot of places will tell you that. Time Warner doesn't offer NFL Network, so suddenly we're going to go out there. We're going to offer NFL Network, and we're going to be much more productive.
Yeah, NFL Network is fine, but I want to be able to watch all the games whenever I want to watch them, any city, anytime. Like, I just can't believe in 2012 we got to pay a premium for this service. It's like, well, I don't want to watch your local team. I don't care about your local team. So, I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what, Zach. I'm thrilled to hear that you are moved in, you are settled in, and I suppose we will probably reconnect sometime next week, perhaps. All right?
Definitely. Sounds good.
All right, Zach, thank you very, very much again for your time. If you want to follow Zach, he's on Twitter. He's at ZBarris. That's ZBARIS on Twitter. Zach joins our program on a regular basis to talk with us about all things NBA. He's an NBA scout. He knows what he's talking about. And I'm still finding it hard to believe. It's still shocking to me how long we have been talking about the NBA and basketball. It's stunning that the season's already over and we still have this many people interested in the NBA. But I'll tell you what I'm interested in now. I'm interested in transitioning to our next show. We do this every Friday. We start off with sports, and then we make a hard pivot. We plant the foot, and we go off in a different direction. Where is that direction today? Well, let me tell you. We're going to get into some interesting stuff here. Charles Dyer. Do you know who that guy is? We're going to tell you. accused of a lot of things. 4 trials. We have a few people that are having some problems with this case. We're going to break it all down for you, but this is a man who is accused of some bad things. You know, his 7-year-old daughter. An accusation was leveled against him. He's an outspoken member of Oath Keepers, basically a group reminding people that our country abides by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, not by politicians and illegal orders. And we have a few people lined up for today's show that are saying that the whole situation where this guy was put out there for, I believe it was 12 states. There was a manhunt underway to track this guy down in 12 states. We're going to bring in 2 people. Former Marine, E-Dogs. That's the handle he goes by. He's going to talk about it. He's been following this case for a while, and his favorite quote, I briefly had a chance to speak with him earlier today. He said, if he was guilty, they wouldn't have had to cheat to get him. And when we get into the details of the 4 trials and the misconduct, the prosecutorial and judicial misconduct, that's what Deborah Swan's going to talk about. Deborah was very connected to this situation with Charles Dyer. You know, and she wants to talk about the federal involvement, the setup, the FBI. And I'll tell you up front, I don't have my master's degree in studying this case, so I'm not going to stick my neck out for anyone one way or another particularly. But on this show, it's called Agree to Disagree. And there are some people with some organizations that we know that said, hey, you got to talk to these people. There's a story going on. Something smells wrong. Something's fishy here. And you need to talk about it. You need to get this story out there. And I considered it. And then I woke up today and saw a shooting. I saw at the Batman premiere over in Colorado, I saw that a bunch of people had been shot. And I had to take a few minutes. I had to take a few hours, actually, just trying to figure out, is today the day that we get into this story? Because you start talking about militia. You start talking about being armed. You start talking about the Second Amendment and tyranny and all of the words of Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, and realizing that the Department of Homeland Security has labeled you a terrorist. If you might be a terrorist. It's almost like a Jeff Foxworthy skit. You might be a terrorist except it's not funny. If you pay for things in cash, you might be a terrorist. If you have a Ron Paul bumper sticker, you might be a terrorist. If you frequently talk about the Constitution, you might be a terrorist. Okay, so if I want to talk about the rule book in the NFL, what? I'm Bill Belichick. I'm in Spygate. I'm a terrorist. I'm cheating. I'm what? I'm a danger to the NFL. Why aren't we allowed to talk about the rule book? We have a very specific, as our president, the constitutional scholar, said, it's a charter of negative liberties. It lays out all the things that your government cannot do to you. And we'll get into all this in just a minute. We're going to hit a hard reset here, and we'll be back with our first guest, the former Marine who's been following this for a while, goes by the handle of E-Dogs. We'll bring him in to break down the case. But, you know, had to make that decision waking up today, looking at that shooting, and you got Mayor Bloomberg from New York trying to call for gun restrictions. And my first reaction is watching a shooting in a public place saying, why are there more people that have, where were the people with open carry or concealed carry permit? Like, where are the people that could have grabbed their firearm and ended this guy before he could shoot, 70 people, 90 people, 12 dead? I mean, some people say, oh, you got to ban guns because I say, no, you don't limit freedom because they're idiots. You protect freedom because there are idiots. So, you know, it's been an interesting day to consider wading into this topic, but it's called Agree to Disagree. That's why we do it every week. We got to challenge things. We got to seek truth, challenge dogma, and have a mostly civil conversation. So, you know, these are serious charges leveled against this Charles Dyer. And I wasn't there. I can't tell you he did it. I can't tell you he didn't. But what we can get into is some of the accusations of misconduct during the trial, and that's exactly where we're going to pick it up when we come back on the other side. My name's Brian Engelman. We're going to take a brief commercial break. I want to thank our sponsor for this segment. It is 3 Black Cats. Go ahead and take a look at their website. It's the number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com. Tribal belly dance accessories and homemade herbal products. Guys, take a look at the stuff. Just buy a couple pairs of earrings. Next time there's an anniversary, a graduation present, a birthday present, just open up the box of cool stuff. Hand that woman in your life something cool. Really sweet earrings. Just take a look. It's the number 3blackcats.storeenvy. That's STORENVY.com. If you want to support the New American Media, support our sponsors. We'll be right back on the other side after this brief commercial break. My name is Brian Engelman. Thank you for sticking around with us for the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Special thanks to Zak Barris, talking all things NBA. Special thanks to Brandon Odell, talking about the Cleveland Browns and the NFL, all things football. And on the other side, we're going to agree to disagree, but we're going to have the conversation. You are watching the New American Media.